Black Friday and Cyber Monday are over, but Christmas is not here yet. In this quick video blog post, I want to share a couple of quick ideas for how to create some last-minute holiday-themed images for your Magento Commerce site. But how do you create compelling images that are psychologically connecting your site visitors to the product and the brand? And how do you do this on a tight budget? I'm Jeff Finkelstein, founder of Customer Paradigm, www.customerparadigm.com, a Magento Silver Solutions partner in Boulder, Colorado. I'm also a professional photographer. I photograph from helicopters, hot air balloons, and the sheer sides of mountains. I tend to ski backwards down black diamond mogul runs with a camera whirring at high speed to capture the action. I've photographed more bar mitzvahs than I can even remember. I've had my images published in hundreds of print publications, including USA Today, the AP Wire. I have photos on permanent display in museums in 3 countries. I've had National Geographic send me paid contracts. And yes, I've done a ton of product photos for e-commerce sites. Really, I'm not trying to brag. I just take a lot of photos, usually 10 or 20,000 per month. I just want you to know I'm not just some guy that picked up an iPhone last week and can use a couple of Instagram filters. Okay, enough of me yapping. I'm going to tell you what you're here today to learn. How to learn some of the top tricks for compelling holiday photography, as well as 5 important mistakes to avoid for this holiday's product photography as well. I really think a great holiday product image should tug on a site visitor's heartstrings. A great holiday image, for example, allows your site visitor to think about wrapping up this product, putting it under a tree, and waiting with great excitement when a friend, family, or loved one rips off the wrapping paper and opens it up, beaming. So before you even begin your photography, think about how your product will fit into the life of the person who will be using it. What's their story? How is this little luxury item going to make them feel like they're a success in life? Try to create a mental picture of what you want to feature on the site. It could be something really simple. High-end headphones shot on a black background next to a Santa hat, or a few tree ornaments. Maybe it's more complex, with kids in pajamas under a tree unwrapping a gift and making their parents feel they are the best parents in the universe. Or maybe it's something edgier, featuring an attractive model, using the product in a gritty urban area with Christmas graffiti in the background. So once you have a basic idea of the image that you're going to try to create, it's time to start shooting. So first, photograph from a lower angle to create an image that's aspirational. Psychologically, the viewer will be looking up to the image. To do this, make sure your product is on a table and that your camera is slightly below the edge. You can always crop out the edge of the table later. The effect can be subtle, but you don't want your site visitor to look down on your product. You want it to be larger than life, aspirational, uplifting. By the way, many supermodels are also photographed this way. Yeah, I know. Only a photographer like me looks at a photo of a supermodel and thinks, hey, check out that camera angle. Really aspirational. Okay, next technique. Use a shallow depth of field, like f2.8, to keep most of the product in sharp focus, but blur the background. The human eye is drawn to the part of the image that's in sharp focus. So keep those holiday elements a little bit blurred in the background. With a shallow depth of field, you can spend less money on your holiday-themed props because you're not showing off every close-up feature. If you're an uber Star Wars fan like me, you might already know that some of the props in the original Episode 4 weren't meant to be closely studied. George Lucas saved a ton of money using low-cost props that were slightly out of focus in the background. And I think he did okay for himself. Okay, next, try using everyday, low-cost items for your holiday-themed props. For smaller products, a bag or 2 of cotton balls can create a snowy perception of winter. Although, if you live here in Boulder, Colorado, you can just go outside and grab a shovel full of snow. Although, that can make your product get wet, so that's probably not such a great idea. For larger items, a Santa hat placed on the corner of a product says, it's the 4th quarter holiday shopping season, or Christmas, you decide. You can also take a couple of small, empty boxes and wrap them with Christmas wrapping paper. But avoid those crazy, shiny patterns with metal strips. They'll look really bad when you hit them with a bright flash. You'll get weird reflections. Or buy a big box of candy canes and scatter them around the product to make it look fabulous. But just make sure you unwrap them or you'll get weird reflections off the wrapping paper too. Nobody's going to worry that they're unwrapped and might get germs by eating them. Okay, next, if you're going to use professional models, here's a totally off-the-wall suggestion for you. Ask them to bring their ugliest holiday sweater from their closet to wear to the shoot. A hot model, forced to wear something really silly, can create a sense of empathy with that viewer. Regardless of what they wear, have your model look at the product instead of the camera. When the attractive model looks at the product, your site visitor takes all the beauty and the allure of the model and transfers those attributes over to the product. Bam! Then they add it to their Magento shopping cart, check out, and you've just made a sale. Another technique, use a simple background. Black is really easy to work with, and a black background can create a really dramatic product image. A yard of black velvet fabric can work really well. And if you have 2 high bar stools, you can place the fabric on the back of the bar stool, drape it over, and even use a couple of small cardboard boxes or Tupperware under the fabric to create a platform for the product to sit on top of. White seamless backgrounds are awesome, but they are an absolute pain in the you-know-what to get to light evenly. You can do it, but it's a pain, and there's usually a lot of post-processing in Photoshop. But if you're trying to float that image onto a white background, nothing is going to work like white seamless. Just plan on cursing a lot. Okay, another thing to keep in mind, shoot wide for slider images. If you're going to be featuring your holiday product image on a big slider on the home page of your site or at the top of a category page, make sure you create the image with all the elements lined up horizontally on a table. You can always zoom out and crop the top and bottom later, but make sure you leave room in the photograph for adding text later in Photoshop. So shoot wide. Okay, finally, be strategic in what you photograph for your big hero images on your site. Whether you have 30 products on your Magento site or 30,000, be strategic. Focus first on what's your most profitable, high volume product. Hopefully, something that also has really low shipping costs too. Photograph that. Then move on to those impulse items that are low cost but allow the end user to be able to add the product to their shopping cart so they qualify for free shipping, for example. Finally, consider photographing one of your most expensive halo items that make the site visitor feel okay with choosing a slightly less expensive item that's nearly as good. For example, if you want to make someone feel great about buying a $495 pair of headphones, promote an image of the $695 headphones with a smaller image of the less expensive pair right below it. Yeah, this actually worked on me. I did buy a really expensive pair of Grotto reference headphones for $495. But compared to the $695 model, obviously way too expensive, this was a bargain. They do really sound good. Restaurants do this all the time with food and wine. Never buy the second least expensive glass of wine from a menu. If you're like me, you don't want to buy the cheapest glass of wine. You feel like you failed in life because you can't afford a nice drink. So unless you really know wine, you go with the second least expensive option. And that's usually the one that costs the restaurant the least amount of money. Okay, it's time to move on and wrap up. Have fun shooting, but please don't make these 5 big mistakes in your holiday product photography. They're easy to avoid, but I see people do this all the time. Number 1, shooting straight on versus at an angle. This is a really common beginner's mistake and one that creates a particularly boring image. A well-crafted photograph attempts to capture a 3-dimensional product and project it onto a 2-dimensional surface, i.e. like the screen that you're using right now to watch this. Shooting straight on doesn't allow you to create shadows, angles, or tension in the photograph. Okay, number 2, using the on-camera flash. Using a flash that's on your camera creates a flat, lifeless image. An on-camera flash usually creates really hot, bright spots that are tough to remove in Photoshop. Use an off-camera flash at 45 degrees to bounce in light, maybe from the ceiling or through a diffuser, such as a white piece of fabric. Just don't combine several different types of light, such as fluorescent bulbs, incandescent lights, LED lighting. You get really strange color tones that will be very impossible to fix, even in Photoshop. Number 3, don't create images that are instantly dated and can't be used. While it's wonderful to reshoot holiday images every year, avoid using the year in the photograph's background or other elements that automatically date your image, preventing you from being able to use it next year. Number 4, not cleaning up the product before you photograph it. A great close-up of a product image may bring out flaws you didn't see until after the photo shoot. So don't feature a product that's been bouncing around in the back of your truck for the last 6 months. Grab a brand new one from inventory and make sure it looks as good as possible. When I'm shooting, I'll ask for 4 or 5 of the same item to make sure that we can pick the absolute best sample. However, minor flaws like a speck of dust or small scratches, those can always be fixed afterward with Photoshop. Okay, number 5, taking a blurry, shaky image on your iPhone and hoping your customers won't notice. They're going to notice, and cheap-looking images are going to cause people to think that your product is also a cheap imitation item that's really low quality. That said, people are fine with an iPhone quality product if it's posted on Instagram or uploaded by an end user for a user review. So, in conclusion, make sure you have fun with your holiday product photography. Remember, a creative, fun image that doesn't follow all the rules above that I just talked about is still often much better than no photo. I'd much rather have someone throw out all the photography rules and checklists out the window and do something that's totally off the wall and creates an impact. So until next time, that's a wrap. Contact me if you have any questions, customerparadigm.com, or on the phone 303-473-4400. I'm Jeff Finkelstein.